A revenge best served cold me husband cheated on me, then threatened the other woman with leaking her intimate videos. So, I drove him into insanity and had him committed. 2 years later, he's begging me to tell everyone the truth. I was once walking my child to school when I noticed one of the moms glaring right at me. So, I did what I always do in these situations. I simply stared at her back. You see, my husband is a stud, green eyes, wavy hair, stable income. So, it wasn't rare for women in our daughter's class to give me dirty looks. If anything, I lived off it. Like, yes, you know what I have, and you can't have it. Moi. Usually, this only happens once, and my death stare scares them off enough to never try again. But then I saw her do it again the next day. And the next. I was honestly close to clocking her. But then I noticed something. One time, there were tears in her eyes, like she was heartbroken, and if there's anyone you can count on for gossip, it's the moms. So, I did some digging and found out she was a single mom, never had a husband in the picture, and was new to the area. I honestly thought she was just trying to be my friend. So, the next week, I gave her a chance. I always saw her being bubbly with the other moms, so I felt pretty comfortable doing this. But the second I turned to her to strike up a conversation, her eyes fell to the floor. She put her hand on her stomach as if to stop herself from hyperventilating. I figured it was just social anxiety until I got in the car. Honey, why the fuck were you talking to that woman? My husband yelled, pure rage in his eyes. I froze. My husband never yells, so my first reaction was to start crying. I think he realized he was overreacting because he put his arm around me and claimed he hadn't gotten his first coffee of the day yet. I nodded, but fear still clouded my mind. So much so that I didn't even mention the woman again. I was hoping an explanation would just somehow fall into my lap, something simple and lighthearted. Honestly, I think deep down, I knew the truth. That same day, as I got our daughter ready for bed, she said, Mommy, Ben's mommy told me to give you this. She said if I read it, a monster would come after me. Can you tell me what it says? Ben, of course, is the mystery woman's son. I nodded, thinking it would be some kind-hearted apology. Oh, how wrong I was. T. The very top of the piece of paper read, open when you're alone. So, I told my daughter I'd tell her in the morning, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light. Then, I locked myself in the bathroom. Every possibility ran through my head. Was the teacher a creep? Was my daughter secretly being bullied? But it wasn't any of those things. The letter read, Your husband has been threatening me. I never knew you guys were together. I'm sorry. That's it. No other explanation. It was like some dystopian treasure map written by a person with schizophrenia. So, I went downstairs and opened my husband's favorite bottle of whiskey. As soon as he heard the bottle open, he was practically drooling for a glass. I filled it to the brim, and he swallowed it down in under a minute, just as planned. The next morning, he was too hungover to go to work or drop off our daughter. So, like the loving wife I am, I made him breakfast in bed and reassured him that one day off wouldn't do any harm. I dropped off Bella extra early so I wouldn't miss Charlotte, Ben's mom, and that's when I saw her daughter. As soon as she waved goodbye to Ben, I cornered her. One thing about me, I'm a girl's girl. I will always prioritize a woman's safety above all else. Charlotte, I need you to explain what's going on. You have my word I won't tell. She nodded without hesitation, like she knew this conversation was bound to happen. She followed me to my car and pulled out her big black iPhone. I wasn't sure what she was doing until she opened a message and began to scroll. My heart dropped when I read the name at the top. The truth unfolds, for I continue. There's something you need to know. Me picking up our daughter from school was a very new thing. Before, it was always my husband. So, Charlotte had genuinely believed he was a single, unmarried father. With my own eyes, I read my husband's threats. He had clips of them making love and dozens of intimate photos. He said he'd leak them to the school, her family, and her workplace because she had found out he had a wife, me, and wanted me to know the truth. I swallowed the bile in my throat. Charlotte took my hand. She promised to help me with whatever part of the divorce process I needed as long as I made sure her stuff didn't get leaked. But I shook my head. I didn't want a divorce. He hadn't just broken my heart, he broke our home. Our baby girl wouldn't get to grow up with two parents. I wanted something worse than divorce. Something that would destroy him. The descent into madness. He started noticing changes in him about 3 weeks into my plan. Little things at first. Shadows beneath his eyes. A tremor in his hands. The way his gaze darted to his phone every few minutes with mounting anxiety. He was unraveling thread by thread exactly as I intended. "Everything okay at work?" I asked one evening, my voice dripping with manufactured concern as I set his dinner plate before him. He rubbed his temples, wincing. "Roger keeps saying I send him bizarre emails, but I swear I didn't write them. And yesterday, my presentation files were all corrupted somehow, numbers scrambled, projections completely off." I frowned sympathetically while satisfaction bloomed in my chest. Tara from accounting had come through beautifully with those files, subtle adjustments that made him look incompetent without being obvious sabotage. "That's strange," I murmured, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. "Maybe someone has it out for you." The seed of paranoia rooted immediately. His eyes widened before narrowing. "You think so? But who would do that?" I shrugged, the picture of innocent confusion. "I don't know, honey. Do you have enemies at work?" He spent the rest of dinner silent, mentally cataloging everyone who might want to sabotage him. The irony, his biggest enemy was sitting across the table, completely unnoticed. Phase 2, gaslighting the gaslighter. That night, while he showered, I went through his phone again. His password hadn't changed my birthday, and I had about 7 minutes. Before he'd emerge, I quickly sent a text to his boss. "I think we should invite Melissa from accounting. She and I have some ideas to discuss." Melissa was Roger's wife, and everyone knew they were having marital problems. I deleted the message from his sent folder and put the phone back exactly where he left it. The next morning, he was a mess. Roger had called him at a.m., furious about the text. "I swear I didn't send it," he insisted, pacing our bedroom. "Why would I suggest bringing his wife? Everyone knows they're practically separated." I gasped appropriately, hand flying to my chest. "That's terrible. Could someone have gotten into your phone?" He stopped pacing, his face paling. "You think someone's hacking me? But how? Why?" I suggested changing his passwords, which he did immediately. Of course, I watched carefully as his fingers flew across the screen, memorizing each new combination. The grocery store encounter. The next phase involved Charlotte more directly. We arranged for her to accidentally run into him at the grocery store while I was conveniently shopping in another aisle. I watched from behind a cereal display as she approached him, her expression carefully crafted to appear terrified. "Please," she whispered loudly enough for me to hear. "I haven't told anyone. I swear. Just leave me alone." Before he could respond, she hurried away. When I rounded the corner with my cart, his face was ashen, sweat beading on his forehead. Despite the store's aggressive air conditioning, "Was that Ben's mom?" I asked innocently. She looked upset. He flinched. "I don't know. Maybe." "Weird," I commented, placing a box of Bella's favorite cereal in the cart. "Want to grab some of that whiskey you like? You seem tense." That night, he drank 3 glasses of whiskey, which I doctored with non-alcoholic spirits. All the burn, none of the buzz. He grew increasingly frustrated when he didn't feel its effects. I watched him from over my book, noting how he kept checking his phone, jumped at small noises, glanced out the windows like a hunted animal. "I think someone's following me," he confessed after his 4th glass, voice tight with anxiety. "At work, at the store, I keep seeing the same faces." I set my book down, the picture of concern. "Honey, that sounds serious. Maybe you should talk to someone professional." He shook his head adamantly, eyes wild. "No doctors. I'm not crazy." "Of course not," I soothed. "But stress can do strange things to perception." The final unraveling. Next day, I enlisted Vanessa's a pharmacy tech friend help to acquire mild sleeping aids. Nothing dangerous, just enough to make him groggy, blurring reality. That evening, I made his favorite pasta dish, carefully lacing his portion with crushed pills. As we ate, I casually mentioned, "Oh, I ran into Charlotte today at the coffee shop." His fork clattered against his plate, sauce spattering like tiny blood droplets. "What? What did she say?" I blinked innocently. "Nothing really. She seemed nervous. Is there something I should know?" "No," he said quickly, voice pitched high. "I barely know her." I nodded slowly, letting doubt creep into my expression. "Okay, it's just, she acted weird when she saw me, like she was afraid." He pushed his plate away, appetite gone, but he'd eaten enough of the drugged food. Within an hour, he was fighting to keep his eyes open on the couch, words slurring. "I feel strange, really tired suddenly, poor baby." I cooed. "You've been working so hard. Why don't you go up to bed?" "I'll be up after I clean the kitchen." Once he was asleep, I went to work.